Hi, and welcome to Reviewing with Mrs. Wages. In this video, I'm going to talk about energy flow through the biosphere. Let's begin by talking about energy and entropy in living systems. So why do we need a continuous input of energy? Well, there's a couple reasons. Reason number one, energy is required by cells to drive the chemical reactions that support life. Without this input of energy, many cellular reactions would stop. That would result in the death of cells and then, of course, the death of the organism itself. For example, glucose is a sugar which stores energy and is found in food. It's required for life. Without food and the energy stored in glucose, an organism will no longer be able to produce the ATP necessary for the chemical reactions in cells that maintain life. This picture shows a bowl of pasta, which is a carbohydrate and is loaded with glucose. The mitochondria can then make use of that glucose to produce ATP. ATP stores usable energy and is needed for many chemical reactions within the cell. The cell then can maintain life. So in other words, cells require energy to drive the chemical reactions needed for life. Reason number two, energy helps organisms maintain their physical structure. Our bodies are made of cells which depend on energy. These cells are organized in a way that sustains life. Cells create tissue, tissue creates organs, organs create organ systems, which create organisms. This organization needs a continuous supply of energy because organisms continually disperse energy into the universe as they move, think, eat, or just plain live. Feel your forehead. If it's warm, you're dispersing energy. Once again, life requires energy to maintain organization. Cells to tissues to organ systems to the organism itself. If you're an animal, that makes you a consumer, and you eat food several times a day as a supply of chemical energy for your cells. If you're a plant and a producer, you need a supply of solar energy to make your food. In either case, food supplies chemical energy to cells. Regardless of how you get your food, you need the chemical energy stored in it for the chemical reactions in your cells, and to maintain the structure and organization of your body. All right, let's talk about entropy. In the simplest of terms, entropy is a measurement of energy and matter dispersal. As mentioned earlier, energy is required to maintain the organization of life. If energy is released from a system, its level of entropy increases. As a result, there can be a scattering of matter that's irreversible. Examples of systems with increasing entropy. This chemical reaction shows an increase in entropy. You can see that a large molecule, when it breaks down, disperses energy and matter at the same time, therefore increases entropy. Burning a log is another example of increasing entropy. By dispersing energy in the form of heat, light, or sound, the log is also dispersing matter. This process is irreversible. You can't turn ash back into a log, and therefore increases the entropy of that system. A living fish is composed of highly organized matter, but it's still dispersing some energy. It has a relatively low level of entropy. But a decomposing fish disperses a great deal of energy and matter, and thus has a higher level of entropy. Now let's focus on energy uses in living systems. In class, you learned about a couple different types of autotrophs or producers. Some autotrophs harness solar energy, and the source of that energy, of course, is the sun. Photosynthesis is the process that allows plants and other producers to make carbohydrates like glucose. Therefore, solar energy gets converted into the chemical energy stored in glucose, which is the plant's food. Other autotrophs harness chemical energy from the bonds found in inorganic molecules like hydrogen sulfide. Chemosynthesis is the process that allows certain bacteria to make glucose, which again is food, without the use of light. This picture shows you a bunch of inorganic molecules being spewed from a hydrothermal vent at the bottom of the ocean. Okay, so let's talk about ecological pyramids. There are three types of ecological pyramids used by ecologists to describe the flow of energy within an ecosystem. The first one is called a pyramid of numbers. There's also a pyramid of biomass, and probably the most accepted is the pyramid of energy. A pyramid of numbers literally counts the number of organisms in each trophic level. For example, 1,000 green plants feed 50 snails, which feed 20 blackbirds, which feeds 1 hawk. And sometimes that pyramid is not a pyramid shape at all, because at the bottom is a producer, but it's an oak tree and there's only one of them. But that oak tree can host many caterpillars, which might feed many bluebirds, which can be eaten by a fewer number of sparrowhawks. A pyramid of biomass shows the total mass or weight of living tissue at each trophic or feeding level. Usually, each trophic level will have a greater biomass than those below it, producing the typical pyramid shape. Energy pyramids show the amount of energy stored at each trophic level within an ecosystem. And you can see that only about 10% of the energy gets stored in each level as you move up the pyramid. This means about 90% of the energy is used for life processes or losses heat to the environment. And that means the ecosystem is increasing its entropy level. So let's talk about the pathway energy takes within any living system. Energy flows in a one-way path within the biosphere. This simple food chain kind of illustrates that idea. It begins with the sun, which provides energy to grass, which provides energy to the grasshopper, which provides energy to the shrew, which provides energy to the owl. So energy is moving from left to right in this diagram. The arrow shows the path of energy is taking in a simple food chain. In this case, energy flows from left to right. Simplified, that means sun provides energy to producers, which provides energy to consumers. Even in food webs or ecological pyramids, energy still flows in a one-way path. In these two examples, energy is flowing upward from the bottom trophic level towards the top consumer. Okay, it's time to flash back to systems, specifically the circulatory system. Is it really a system? Well, yeah, the circulatory system is really a system because it's composed of many parts. For example, it has heart, arteries, arterioles, capillaries, venules, and veins. But that's not all. Each of these parts have their own unique job within the system. The heart contracts and pumps blood through the body. Arterioles and arteries carry blood away from the heart towards the body. Capillaries exchange materials with the cells of the body. And veins and venules return the blood to the heart. And finally, the parts of the circulatory system all work together to achieve a common purpose. The purpose of the circulatory system is to supply the body with important materials such as food, nutrients, and oxygen, but also to remove waste. Now let's flash back to the respiratory system. Just like the circulatory system, the respiratory system is also a system because it's composed of many parts shown here. And each of those parts has its own unique job. For example, the nasal passage warms the air coming into the body. The trachea delivers the air to the lungs. The alveoli exchange gases with cells. And all of these parts, despite having their own jobs, are working together for the common purpose of exchanging gases with the environment and the body. Now let's flash back to the digestive system. And the digestive system is really a system too. It's also composed of many parts, like the mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, the large intestine, small intestine, etc. And these parts all have their own unique job. The mouth begins chemical and mechanical digestion. The stomach continues it. The small intestine finalizes chemical digestion. The large intestine absorbs excess water. These parts all work together to ensure that every cell in the body gets the material needed from the food that is consumed. That's all for now. I hope this helps, and as always, happy studying!